call, please.
Sure. Commissioner Bacco,
Here.
Commissioner Whitaker,
Here.
Commissioner Gaudioso,
Here.
Commissioner Rakowski,
Here.
Commissioner Neary,
Here.
Lisa Catania, Michael Pierce,
Here.
and myself, George Needles, present.
Thank you. Before we get on to our citizens' comment tonight, I'd like just to thank all our veterans on behalf of the Board of Commissioners for their service. You are what make our countries great, and I'm very grateful that we have servicemen and women that continue to serve also. So with that, we'll move on to citizen comments. Anybody would like to come up and speak? Anybody all from the audience would like to come up and speak? Citizen comments? State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Eric Hafer, 603 Park Avenue, Laurel Springs, New Jersey. I'm architect for Kaiserman Company. House. For a waiver this evening, request application.
Right now, I don't have any questions. I know that your waiver request is on our agenda to be voted on tonight. If any board members has had any questions, they're free to ask them at this time.
What number is that?
It is number 8.
Mr. President, if I asked Eric here today so that he could explain to the board what it is that they're planning on doing, and as well, why they're requesting the waiver.
Yeah. My understanding, it's a small addition at the Meeting House Apartments, correct?
306 square feet, a small addition. It's had a evaluation come through and complex as to what they could up to the meeting room at all, and meeting room. It's very small. They have a rules changed. For the sidewalks that entrance. Very straightforward, has minimal impact on anything. Street. To get the construction.
The only question I have is this just for business use for the office, or is this also a meeting room for the residents that live?
It's amenity for the community.
It's not going to be used as a rental to be like.
Absolutely not.
I think it's pretty straightforward. So I believe it's pretty straightforward. So I don't think there's any other questions. So it'll be number 8 on our agenda item to vote on. Anybody else like to come up and speak? Anybody at all? All right, let the record show there are no more citizens' comments for tonight, and we'll move on to our agenda items. Can I have the approval of the minutes for the October 14th, 2021 Board of Commissioners meeting?
So moved. Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Item number 7. Item number 6. Have a member of the board consider a resolution authorizing escrow release number 9 for Profco Pineville Boothwyn LLC in the amount of $28,701.
So moved. Seconded.
There's a motion and a second. If there's no comments, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion is carried.
That's resolution 2021-55.
Number 7 on our agenda. May I have a member of the board consider a resolution authorizing an escrow release to Ashley and Danielle Morris in the amount of $2,750.00.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second.
I think it's
Daniel, correct. My apologies. Motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion is carried.
That is Resolution 2021-56.
Item number 8, have a member of the board consider a resolution granting a waiver for Meeting House Apartments LP from the submission of a land development application.
So moved.
Second.
So motion and a second. If there's no comments,
Just one question, please. Are you okay with?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I am. One of the items, as we have done in the past for any development that is granted a land development waiver, they are requested that they submit to Delaware County Planning Department for the Act 247, which will have a record plan that's involved with that process.
Right, because that was part of the problem we had with the Whitaker development down on Barker Road, that the subsequent resolution wasn't included in the plan. So this has nothing to do with it. But it's why I agree that we need to have a new plan.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep.
so motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion is carried.
That's Resolution 2021-57.
Item number 9, have a member of the board consider a motion accepting the extension granted to Upper Chichester Township for the review of the land development application for 820 Columbia Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
I have a question. We're not building in our town, what, and this is probably been more than one extension we've done. What's the hold up on? My understanding, Lower Town's gonna build either way. It's in, the building's in there, what's the hold up here that we keep extending?
Yeah, so they'll be in front of the planning commission in next week, and then it'll be in front, as long as it goes through the planning commission, it'll be in front of you guys in December. The issue that was held up was that there was still requirements from the when you approved that subdivision, the subdivision of the property. They had not fulfilled the requirements of the resolution for that, so we needed to get some of those things completed before we could go on to the next phase.
Okay.
So that's all completed now. They've satisfied all those, and they've resubmitted everything for this plan, and they'll be in front of the planning commission, and then it should be good to go.
That includes the alley that was vacated or whatever back there too? Wasn't that part of the issue?
No, no.
It's
This
completed
is,
by PA, right?
the issue beyond the subdivision is the fact that the subdivision plan that we've acted on and the land development plan don't match. So the elevations are different, the meets and bounds of the various easements that are granted are different. We're trying to get that resolved.
If there's no other questions, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and motion is carried. For items number 10 through 13, we'll have our Vice Chairman, Commissioner Joe Bacher, read.
Consider a motion approving payment request number 2 from AF Damon for the 2021 road program project in the amount of $21,443.16, all payable from the Liquid Fuels Fund.
The motion and a second. Are there any questions? All right. Okay.
Jump right to it.
I understand now. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion is carried.
Number 11, consider a motion approving the workplace policy for volunteer firefighters working the Public Works Department.
Second.
I'll give that second to Commissioner Whitaker.
Question, George, I saw your email regarding my questions as far as the number of employees. Would you go over that? And so how many people would be, for example, if there was an incident, how many people would be leaving? Or is that based on, like this? I want to know what the final, so we received a draft. There were questions that I posed. Where's the final draft of it? Is it going to be revised?
Yeah, so
What's going to be?
So the draft that's included in your packet tonight includes the changes to that last paragraph. in reference to the requirement for some type of letter or form from the fire company stating that the individual was on the call. But as far as the amount of people, so we have 7 volunteer firefighters that are active call runners in the Public Works Department. And you quote me if I'm wrong here, I believe that they need 4 to get out of truck, 3 or 4, right?
Correct.
So the idea behind this is in the event that there is not people at the station able to respond, and if clarity is there, that the Public Works Director can then make the decision to allow any number of those to respond to a fire. And it would be it'd be very situational. So it'd be situational based off of the incident and situational based off of the workload as well. So, he's going to have to manage that and balance that so that we don't have a situation where we get work done because we sent all the firefighters. However, obviously, if there is a catastrophic fire that could cause harm to the community, we would be looking at sacrificing the ability to do some of the public works work that day to ensure that the fire. So I don't actually have a number as to how many people would.
Right.
It could, so in theory, it could be up to 7, but most likely will be 2
It's
to
never
4.
been that yet, though. And he can deem who goes, like, if 2 guys are on a hot job here, he can send 2 guys that are on a job that's, you know what I mean? He has the authorization to do all that.
And unfortunately, every incident is different.
Yes.
And I don't want to speak for PUD, and I don't want to put it as a policy, but majority of the time, if it's fire alarms going outside of the township, they don't even respond. They're hoping the volunteers that are at the fire company do that. If something major, you may have all 7. Most 90% of the time, they come back to work. It gives PUD the flexibility to be able to say, hey, I know where to put the guys now. So, like Joe was saying, if there's a hot job going on that has to get done, the majority of them are going to be the firemen in case something happens. He's done a hell of a job. Our guys have done a hell of a job responding. Trust me, we got a lot of nuisance calls here in Upper Chi that we go constantly, and I know for a fact they don't go till now. There is some people to be able to get the same old, so minimum 2-3 times a week.
The biggest thing we've had, and Pud and I have discussed this, is that they have to volunteer to go and allow. You can't pluck them out and say you're going, because then effectively he's making them a paid firefighter. But they are volunteer firefighters. These individuals want to get out on runs anyway. And he has a process in place to make that work, and he's been doing very well managing that.
And Mike reviewed it. Yeah. And you added, okay, so you added the other thanks for adding those other items, so I think it makes it more
We've been
definitive.
doing it. We just never had a
Oh, I know.
policy in order. It's time to do it, just so
For sure,
we never
yeah.
get caught, you know.
And God forbid if anything happens to them while they're on the call, they're covered under the heart and lung. So it would be 2 separate claims. Correct?
Yeah, effectively, we're there as employees of the township. They're covered under our workers' comp. And in the process of allowing them to leave to respond to a call, they're effectively becoming a volunteer firefighter when they're allowed to leave work. Again, it's telling them and allowing them. But once they leave and they respond or on active volunteer firefighter duties, they're covered under the heart and lung policy, which is also paid for by the township.
So there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion is carried.
Number 12, consider a motion authorizing the township engineer to advertise the bid specs for the Somerset Stormwater Project, subject to the securing of all necessary agreements.
Second.
Motion and a second. If there's no comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion is carried.
Number 13, consider a motion authorizing the township engineer to advertise the bid specs for the Boothman Highlands Stormwater Project, subject to the securing of all necessary easements.
Second.
The motion and a second. Are there any questions? All right, if there's no questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, motion is carried. All right, well, number 14 will be read by Commissioner Nicole Whitaker.
Good evening, everyone. Consider a motion authorizing the township manager to advertise a public hearing to take comment on the Upper Chichester Township 2022 Community Development Block Grant application.
Second.
The motion and a second, are there any questions?
Just a quick comment that I would like to have that hearing prior to the board meeting in December, so 7 o'clock prior to the board meeting,
The regular meeting?
the regular.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, motion is carried. Item number 15 on the agenda will be read by Commissioner Ed Bukowski.
My name there. for a while, so Not sure if I know how to do this. No. Consider a resolution authorizing an escrow release to Robert Shin in the amount of $28,000.
Second.
As motion and a second, any questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it, motion is carried. For the balance go ahead, George.
It's resolution 2021-58.
For the balance, numbers 16 through 19, we'll have Commissioner Joe Neary read.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Consider a motion authorizing the township manager to advertise an ordinance setting the 2022 real estate tax millage.
Second.
A motion and a second. If there's no comments, all in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it, motion is carried.
Consider a motion authorizing the township manager to advertise an ordinance setting the 2022 trash fee. So
Second.
moved.
The motion and a second, all in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it, motion is carried.
And on both of those motions, there's no change from last year. Consider a motion approving tax exoneration list 21-11.
Second.
So motion and a second, any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, motion is carried.
Consider a motion approving the list of bills in the amount of $431,412.22. So moved.
Second.
So motion and a second, any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, motion is carried. At this moment, we'll move on to our commissioners and professionals reports, and we'll start off with our township solicitor, Mr. Michael Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. President. All of the action items related to the legal aspects were taken care of during the regular motions. Since we just had our meeting really a couple weeks ago, I don't have anything new to report at this point in time. All legal matters are in order, sir.
Thank you. Any questions for our solicitor from the board? If there are no questions, we'll move on to our township engineer, Ms. Lisa Catania.
Thank you, Mr. President. You do have a copy of my report. We've gone through that report pretty thoroughly the last meeting, and any of the action items that I recommended have been on the agenda this evening. I have nothing unless anyone has any questions.
Are there any questions for our township engineer from the board members?
I'd like to try to get Al Puerto Rico out there, who's the island on Chi Avenue. Just my idea, see if we're allowed to do it with the, well, first of all, I think we talked about it a couple months ago, and I'm sure when we're going to do it. I'd like to take one pole on both sides of the island, possibility of the solar light, taking on the yellow for nighttime. And one other question, I don't know, I did time the timer, it is 13 seconds. I did one time with the, last one time when I was there, it was 13 seconds. Because if not, we were going to knock on their door. But there's an issue. I'm not sure how we could do this. Didn't think about it at the beginning. What I'm saying is, I'm in the traffic now, doing that. But is there places in other towns where you put an X in front of the K Avenue where it says, don't block intersections? So that gives other people an opportunity to come in and make the left. I was just trying to I don't want 50 signs on that one pole. So what I was trying to do is sign or the block that says don't block intersection coming up to Decay Avenue, I guess. Lower Chai that way. Then coming back into Upper Chai, sign underneath the yellow one says the show is no U-turn, because what they're doing is going into Harpersville, turning around. to try to get back on Chai. Yeah, that's a lot to ask for the full. I'm not sure if I do that too much with PennDOT.
So right now, the reflective portion of the pole would be something that our maintenance guys would do. That, I have not asked Provco to complete that. As far as the flashing signal, Al is currently working on the application. I asked him to take the lead to do that flashing signal application for the island, the pedestrian island. We'll also tell you that Paul Lutz at the final inspection for the traffic signals agreed that it was something that PennDOT would approve. As far as the don't block the box is what they call it, that pavement marking, it certainly could be done. We would again have to go back to PennDOT because it would be on PennDOT property, or excuse me, PennDOT right of way, not property, PennDOT right of way. And we would also need to check about the signs. So
I mean,
that's something Al certainly can do.
sure people listening or even here, well, that's a lot going on the side, but it's different directions. So
Yeah.
it's coming in from this way, in this way, and then nighttime is, I don't want to put Lutheran old house up top for the family, just sort of put something going there.
Talking about what you would typically see on a stop sign. A
Right.
brand new stop sign has the one light and it's taking care of the issue. I also have sat right at Produce Junction taking a look to see how traffic has been going. And it looks like people are getting used to the system. For anybody that's listening, we did put on the website I don't want to say a tutorial, but an explanation of the flashing yellow so people can understand what the purpose of flashing yellow is. So that's there. There's a YouTube video as well for that particular movement. And anyone that wants to take a look, there should be, I don't know if the YouTube is probably not on the website, but the link is. Okay.
One more is, I saw the email earlier today regarding the Wawa and the ESCO about a clean out damage or whatever, cleanup damage. Was that Wawa or was that the second, or was that wasn't the developer, it was the Wawa? Is there a hold up between
No.
those?
No. So we have an issue that we have two different contractors working on the project. And from the beginning, I had told the group that I'm not going to argue with them as to which contractor did it. I'm going back to the developer and saying to the developer, this needs to be fixed. You resolve it between the two of you. I'm not going to get in the middle of it. I will tell you that based on my inspector's reports, the casting that was put in, and that it's a Southern Delaware County Authority issue, in that it's the sanitary lateral clean out. It's in the street, it's broken, but it's broken because they didn't put a typical casting in when they did the milling of the street. And it's deformed already. So Scott actually did that part. Scott Construction, not AT Company. AT Company had already or had not been on site at that point. So I don't want to get into that argument with them. That's between the two contractors to get it straightened out with the developer.
So Scott was the original contractor.
Scott did the milling and the paving,
Right.
and Wawa came in after that.
This is the issue.
So The issue in the street is the fact that the casting, they did not put a typical casting in. They molded some sort of metal and put it into the street when they paved. It didn't hold up.
So what, did they make their own manhole?
They made their whole own extension, yeah, their own casting.
So you can't get a litter nut for it, probably.
So, right, and it doesn't fit properly, correct.
If there's no other questions for our township engineer, we'll move on to our manager's report. Mr. George Needles.
Good evening, everyone. All reports are on file in the office. The only thing I have today is I'd just like to, obviously it's Veterans Day. I'd like to recognize, I'm remiss, Tom, I apologize. I didn't wish you a happy Veterans Day and thank you for your service earlier when I saw you, but thank you very much for your service to the country and your service to the community now. And then also just recognize some veterans in my life who've been very important. My grandfather, God rest his soul, George Needles Sr., served in the Navy in World War II. My grandfather, Louis Warfel, who's 96, lives in Phoenix, Arizona, who served in the Army in World War II. And I guess it would be my grandfather-in-law, Francis Naylor, who served in World War II in the Army and then re-enlisted in the service after. So, these gentlemen have been a very big part of my life, and two of them are still living, having a great time in their 90s.
Any questions for our township manager? All right, if not, we'll move on to our commissioner's report. We'll start off with Commissioner Joe Baiocco.
Thank you. Not a whole lot, just a couple of jobs that the highway guys finished up this week. Johnson Avenue, they repaired a couple storm sewer inlets and a piece of pipe to connect them. We had a cave-in over on Okeola, I think around 6th or 7th Street, and they got that cleaned up. Something I forgot to mention so far is disposal of leaves. Everybody knows they got to go in a brown bag. You put them out with your trash on your trash day. Reminder, I hadn't made that. That's all I have.
Any questions for Commissioner Baiocco?
Yes, what are the dates? When is it, the leaf collection stop? I know it started already.
Don't really have
Is it
to.
before?
Yeah, you put them
Okay.
out with your trash.
They have to be in the brown
They just
disposable
gotta be in a
bags?
brown bag. They don't want the plastic bags. It's
Okay.
only a catch.
All right. If there's no other questions for Commissioner Baiocco, we'll move on to Commissioner Whitaker.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Again, a couple things that I just want to revisit from last week for anyone that missed it, that didn't tune in. Received some, I guess, complaints or questions regarding a property along Meeting House Road that sits across from Icona Courts. And just want to let the public know that the township has not received any approved plans for development of that area. And there are actually several violations that are pending for that property. So if you have any questions or any concerns, please feel free to reach out to me directly and or a township manager. But everything that, or anything I should say, that would be approved would have to come through the township first. So make sure you reach out to the officials that would have that direct information. In addition, there are a couple other problem properties on Meeting House Road, and just be advised that the township is aware of those. Most of those cases are in litigation, so we cannot discuss them at a public meeting. But the township is aware, and we are taking action against those property owners. I'd like to say an official welcome to Luongos, who actually is now here in Upper Chi. We've contracted with them to be our towing service. They've actually acquired a property in the township, so they're here and operating. So hopefully we will have a good working relationship with them as we had so far. In addition, the ROTC, is it the ROTC? Am I saying it right? The ROTC? Okay. I got it mixed up earlier, so I wanted to make sure I had it right. They have pledged a $20,000 donation to the construction of the new library, and that is if the library, we're still waiting on the RCAP funding, award announcement, I should say, from the state that has been postponed. We were told it would happen at some point in November, so we're still waiting on that. We've had support from State Representative Craig Williams, Senator Kane, as well as, I believe, State Rep Kirkland as well in this, in our request for money. So we applied for $2 million. We're hopeful to get that and or $1 million. The library so far has raised over $600,000 because, as you know, whatever we receive in the funding for the grant, it's a 50% match. So we will have to come up with that match funding within 6 months of the award. So we're hopeful that we receive some funding for that. In addition, tonight at the library, the Chichester Business Association, the library presented to them, and they have also pledged to support the library financially. They did not give us a specific dollar amount at this time, but they have pledged to support the library as well. And during that event this evening, they also presented Barb Kelly with a thank you of appreciation for her work that she's done over the past 4 years here at the township. Everyone in attendance, a few people stood up and thanked her for her service, thanked her for getting them involved in heart and soul, getting them involved in the community. So it was really a really nice event. So I'd like to say thank you to Barb on behalf of the board. We all thank Barb for her work that she's done here, and we wish her well. The Booth One Town Center, I know this is under Ed's, that was held Monday night. And Ed, did you bring the posters up to the township yet? Yeah. The poster boards? Okay. Are we going to put them on display at some point? Okay. Okay. All right. I just asked, but so that event, it was a nice presentation that was given. It wasn't well attended. So hopefully if we do have another one, we'll advertise and maybe we'll have it. Hopefully we can have it here at the gym and have it set up and maybe on a meeting night before our meeting starts so that people that want to attend the meeting, they'll come out. So whatever we can do to get a higher turnout. There's some really good information that Heart and Soul has put together. And again, it's a vision for the town. As we know, we have a couple applications for mixed use. That was one of the items on their list of, I guess, on their project list, right? So, so that was good. It was a great presentation, and I think everyone should be aware of what the Heart and Soul has put together. And then our parade, Christmas parade. So, our recreation department is busy and we have a lot of community support, community businesses that support our recreation department. I'd like to say thank you to them. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do a lot of the things we do. The holiday celebration is going to be on Saturday, December 11th, and it's going to start at 10 a.m. with the Santa Sprint, the 5K run. The village is going to open at 4 p.m., and that's at Willowbrook Shopping Center. And the parade will start at 5:30 p.m. If you're interested in participating in any 3 of these events, please contact Brian Warren, our rec director here at the township, and let him know which one you're interested in attending or supporting, sponsoring, or whatever you choose. I believe that's it. I think I went through all my comments.
Any questions for Commissioner Whitaker? If not, we'll move on to Commissioner Ed Rakowski. Thank you.
Thank you. I have nothing to say now. No, just to echo what Commissioner Whitaker was saying, that is our goal for the Boothwyn Town Center. Presentation was very nice, very receptive with the residents that were there. A lot of great ideas from the task force. I told them that night I gave them my idea from back in January, and they took off with it. So this is residents in with the heart and soul when we had the joint one back in May or June. They're putting everything together for this last one we just had last Monday, and hopefully have a final presentation for the public and the Board of Commissioners for the plan. Vision of the Boothwyn Town Center, and Paul was saying we have the mixed use and we have a couple applications already, so they're jumping a little ahead of the cart, but that is part of the idea of being able to get the Boothwyn Town Center up and going, not just in the town center, but all along Thatcher Avenue. Excuse me, we did go outside of the scope a little bit, but nothing drastic. There's a lot of ideas that this board can do without asking lots of money or costing lots of money to proceed, and this committee's accepted that. They knew that from day one. We just wanted to see us do something, and there's great opportunities everywhere, not just the Boothwyn Town Center, Linwood Heights, the Township Line. So everything's connected, and I think this one would finalize it for most of it.
Now, we got to get up this way yet.
Well,
Third ward needs it.
well, that's fine. You and Mike, that's all your committee. But now I want to thank everybody who was there. Like Nicole said, we'll do a little more advertising for January or February. I know that we still have a meeting. I'm not sure if it was PennDOT still. But the task force will gather their information that we just had this past Monday and final review January or February for the Board of Commissioners. It's are on file. The only report you may not have, because I just got it this afternoon, I sent it to George, is the fire marshal.
It's in there.
If it's in there, that's great. Reminder, the emergency management team has a tabletop exercise coming up in December. And it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I think, till like 9 at night up here. And it's for municipality representatives and stuff like that. I don't know, they're working on it. Long night. I'm not sure if we're having food for our dinner. It would be nice. We'd be up here for 5 hours, but but either way, I like to, for all of us. I mean, I don't know what it's about. I've been in the fire department 43 years. I always want to learn something, especially being on this side of the table, because that's what this one's about, the public side. Our job and what we need to do in an emergency. So I thank the board again for the medics and the budget for that. In the back of our minds, I've been saying it now for 8 years. I said it last week here. I'm not saying that we have to go gung-ho and our budget's going to be blown out of the waters. What I'm saying is you have smaller municipalities than ours that are already starting to pay the firemen during the day. Aaron Hill just piggybacked, 10 of them. Eddystone is a small little tiny town. It's paying people during the day. Haven, they pay their the EMT. So it's, unfortunately, I could say it over and over, and I just want to put it on record. I don't need to be a broken record. 1970s, we had 300,000 volunteers, EMS and firemen. Today in Pennsylvania, you may have 30,000. Conkerville, they've been doing it for years. It's all the kudos. If we all could take the same template they have, which we know we can't, they have it down. But to keep in the back of the mind, I'm not saying it's going to happen next year for the fire department, but I'm glad that we're supporting the medics on Boothwyn. If we have to get the contract or whatever straightened out, we'll do that. But for the residents, I think it's more personal through the fire department and good move. So thank you.
Any questions for Commissioner Rakowski? Thank you. If not, we'll move on to Commissioner Joe Neary.
Thank you. Good evening. The financial reports and the tax report, which has a small error, so I'll show you that one, and are available in the office, as well as the police officer also available.
Thank you. Any questions for Commissioner Neary? If not, we'll wrap up with my report. For zoning next month, we have two mixed-use residential, commercial uses coming before the zoning board for variance for mixed uses. It's 2124B Chichester Avenue and 2805 Chichester Avenue. I don't have anything else to report on. Just keep it short and sweet tonight. If anybody have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them. Yes,
I don't
Oh.
have anything for you, but I have something else.
we'll cover it under
Okay.
new business. So we'll move on to agenda number 21, new business.
I wanted to ask Lisa, I forgot, for the community development block grant. Can you send me, Andrew George, send me the last applications that we had for the second ward? I know that we had applied and did not get the Johnson Avenue Part 2. We have Johnson Avenue Phase 2 that we didn't get, we weren't awarded a couple years ago. Okay.
Yeah, I have most, I'm sorry.
No,
Commissioner.
that's fine.
I was just, in the back of my mind, I was thinking Barb did the community, but I did the community development block grants.
Right.
So I have that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I just want to see what, I know Ed had mentioned something last week, was it McKay Avenue?
McKay Avenue.
McKay Avenue, and I wanted to see what, applications we had submitted that were unsuccessful in the recent years, so we can look and try to make a decision as to which one, would have the, I guess, greater chance of being awarded. Especially since we're doing a lot of stuff down in the, Linwood Heights area, so that might be a good look, so, thank you.
Is there any other new business? All right, just before we adjourn, I'd just like to also thank Barbara Kelly for her years of service here, and I wish her the best of luck also. Have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion is carried. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight.